The GOP's first presidential primary debate highlighted divide between the Republican Party and its presidential candidates over U.S. support for war against Russia in Ukraine. Businessman Vivek Ramaswamy raised his hand on Wednesday night when moderator Bret Baier asked which of the candidates would oppose more financial aid to Ukraine. He has appeared in polls and modeled his rebel campaign on many of the policies of former President Trump. At other end spectrum on political scene was Russian President Vladimir Putin and former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley, whose sharp differences with Ramaswamy on Ukraine led to one of most memorable moments night in Milwaukee. Ukraine is our first line of defense, and the problem Vivek doesn't understand is that give Ukraine Russia. It wants let China eat Taiwan. Go and stop funding Israel. You have no foreign policy experience. And that shows, Haley told Ramaswamy, recalling another GOP candidate on stage that night, former Vice President Mike Pence, who criticized Ramaswamy as a novice in politics and foreign policy. When you look at the situation of Russia and Ukraine, you see here a pro-American country invaded by a bandit, he said, referring to Putin. The fight for Ukraine has long divided Republicans. But this is not enough to sustain support for the warring country. Opposition to U.S. support for Ukraine is the loudest among pro-Trump lawmakers in the House of Representatives, including Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. In July, the House rejected 5 measures supported by some Republicans to limit aid to Ukraine. The measures were presented as amendments to the annual Pentagon policy bill. Greene's amendment to provide Ukraine with $300 million in funding failed by a vote of 89 to 341, with 130 Republicans voting against all Democrats. Another proposal by Gaetz ban any form of security aid to Ukraine failed by a vote of 358-70, with 149 Republicans opposed. Despite vocal opposition from some on right, the vote was generally seen as a testament to relative strength of support for U.S. aid to Ukraine. Senate support for Ukraine among Republicans has been even stronger, thanks in part to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who visited the country and stated that support for Kiev should be a U.S. national security interest. However, this does not mean that Ramaswamy is alone as voice of the opposition, or that future of U.S. support for Ukraine is stable. Speaker of the House of Representatives Kevin McCarthy said last October that Ukraine should not be given a blank check for aid. He said Ukraine was very important and Russia should be defeated, but said they would further examine the amount of aid if Republicans won a majority in the House of Representatives. Trump, a leading contender for the GOP nomination, has recently called for a halt to additional aid to Ukraine until federal agencies prove every crumb of Presidents Biden and Hunter Biden's allegations of core